Okay, so welcome Kingpins 24 viewers, and welcome to the panel about innovative fibers and materials. I'm happy to share this time with two experts, two companies that are working on something really great. Shahriar Mahmood from Spinnova and Linus Mueller from Circular Systems, as well as Rowan Hunt from Denim Research, which is a UK, an English designer, has been working for many brands and is passionate about new fibers. Sometimes the designs that one is thinking of are amazing. So let me ask Shahriar, Linus, and Rowan to introduce themselves and make a short introduction of what are you doing, what are you representing. Please, Shahriar, you go first.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. It's a pleasure to take part in this panel discussion. So basically, I work in Spinnova, a Finnish startup which produce world's most sustainable fiber, and I work there as a director of sustainability and also working in different kind of product development.
Thank you. And Linus, what about yourself and Circular Systems?
Hi, everyone else. So I've been working with Circular Systems since the founding of the company. It's an American startup with offices around the world. I'm here in Amsterdam, so normally I attend Kingpins here locally. And my role is the head of intellectual property and research and development for Circular Systems. And the key product platform that I think we'll mainly be referencing today is AgriLoop, which is a biofiber, which is focused on creating a positive impact. So moving beyond sustainability in a way and trying to do more good and not just less bad. So I'm sure we'll have fun exploring that a little bit in the talk.
And Rowan, tell us something about yourself.
I'm Rowan. I've worked on the high street for the last 15 years, I say, in the UK, across all multiple brands. Worked as a developer most of the time. And then I've kind of transitioned into more of a consultant base. So looking at factories, fibers, everything involved in the denim industry, really. So, and recently doing a lot of research into new fibers and new innovations, new ideas, new thinking, new ways of looking at it. And then waste. You look at what we can do, what we can improve bit by bit, really. And that's a quick summary.
So that's great. So let's start with the questions. Maybe Shahriar, I can ask you, something about, what kind of problems, what kind of issues are innovative materials intending to solve? Why new materials are important in the industry these days?
Yes, thank you. So I think we all know that the textile industry is responsible for the huge amount of environmental impact created, and largely the resource depletion, the waste generation, the pollution, and so on. And we also know that the industry consumes a considerable amount of let's say water, energy for the different kind of processings in different stages. And also to mention that it is one of the largest contributor for the global warming. We shouldn't also forget the microplastic pollution thing. That is why I think we come up with a solution to produce a textile fiber in a very, very unique way, literally without impacting the environment and the use of least possible resource. The inspiration basically came from the nature, and our innovator of this technology, our CTO Juha Salmela, actually got this inspiration from the spider, how the spiders weave their webs. So and kind of taking the inspiration from there, we are producing the fiber in a way that it's not really use any kind of intensive chemical processing. It's almost very much mechanical way or the physical way to do. And we are, most interesting part is that we are using the raw pulp, the kraft pulp that basically uses for making the paper and the boards. Not like the viscose or lyocell that uses the dissolved pulp. So that is why we get at least 60% of the yield from the raw wood, whereas the viscose processes typically gets, let's say, 35% and so on. And in our own process, we get basically 100% of the yield. So what we basically put into our system, we get out or make fiber out of it. So yeah, I think the main inspiration came out the large environmental impact that we are producing in the textile industry, and how innovatively we can really produce fiber and provide some kind of solution to the industry.
Alino said, it are, let's say, innovative fibers or new development fibers or innovative man-developed fibers, and especially in your case, Agraloop. Can the fibers perform the natural references? I mean, is it possible to outperform nature? Okay, be better than nature. What do you think?
Look, it's quite an arrogant thing to say. But maybe, probably, I would tend to say yes, and the reason for that is nature has sort of created quite a nice little selection of systems, of natural phenomena, and we now have the honor of sort of connecting these existing systems and sort of combining them and leveraging the advantages and sort of minimizing the disadvantages. So what we do with Agraloop, for example, is we use existing agricultural farming, existing agricultural systems that anyway produce waste, and then take this waste, and also in primarily a mechanical process. So also no viscose process involved or depolymerization. We then create a fiber out of this product, and so the exciting thing is, not only do you have this existing waste source that's being created, but quite typically it's being created in communities which are disadvantaged, which have a limited source of income or a single source of income, i.e. the crop that they're growing, and then they just have this huge amount of waste. And so you have this waste production system, but then you can also have this social system that you integrate together with this. And so by sort of taking a bit of a step back, we managed to not only transform waste into a valuable fiber in this case, but also empower the communities by paying them for something that they would otherwise typically burn, or in some cases leave to rot. And so back to sort of the question, can they outperform? I guess it sort of depends on the perspective that you take, in the sense that from an aesthetic perspective, from a performance perspective, well, it depends what you're comparing it to. If you're comparing more to a linen or a polyester, well, they're obviously very different things. So and this is where I think the designers also come in, because this is where they use their creativity to find smart ways of using new fibers. Back in the 20th century, when viscose and polyester first came onto the scene, we also didn't really know what to do with them, and they now have expanded into these massive fiber sources. So. Yeah, I absolutely believe that they'll be able to outperform, both from an impact perspective, from a social impact perspective, but also from an aesthetic/performance perspective. So it'll be very exciting to see how all these sort of systems come in and start talking to each other in a harmonious way.
Yeah, great. Yeah, Linus mentioned designers, and designers at the end of the day, they are the persons that put the things at hand for consumers. So how important is for a designer to have different tools, to have to play with different materials for developing something new, different, something special? So how a designer can make good use of the new things that are available at the moment?
I think that the main thing is education. So if we understand what the fibre is and why is it better, like, we will look at, Miguel and me have talked about nettles, long fibres and different things, and like, these are great, but then how do they perform? So if you're trying to squeeze a box, you've got you've got cotton, you've got denim, and this is what it is. And you try to squeeze it into this box, like Tencel, for instance, in men's. It's really hard to introduce Tencel into men's because of what it's for. But for tops, for women's, for dresses, for women's, it's perfect. So I think that is the first step for sure. Educating and going, right, this is great for this. It's actually wicking, but it's natural wicking. And like, okay, cool. So maybe this could be sportswear, natural sportswear. But I think a lot of it is about biomimicry. Like what we're talking about is nature and where things come from and how they work together. And, you know, can these provide, you know, nature doesn't have any waste. So this is something we're trying to tackle. So I think for me, new fiber is education, how we can use it, but also this kind of, you know, how, you know, we mimic nature, and then we can reduce waste as well as kind of add. So, you know, you're trying to do sustainability, you're trying to do something new. These need to come together and combine, and in the right product, because if we force it, it won't work. You know, it won't work. So for me, education is the first part. And then I think for brands, if you're going to work with brands, like I think maybe people like Candiani are quite good, where when they've developed something new, they tell certain brands, you know, this is good. You know, it might be Denham or Stella, and they'll tell them, and then go, you can do it first, and they do a great marketing message around it. So then you're telling the consumer what it is, why is it good, it's biodegradable. You're like, wow, cool. Then you give it a chance. So I think it's educating the consumer, educating the designers, because you might think designers can just go, yeah, cool, I'll use that, but if they don't know how it uses, what's the benefit? Because a lot of designers will give them fabrics, and then you'll get a fabric and put it into something, but yeah, if you don't know back, like if it's biodegradable, then you go, okay, cool. We put it with biodegradable threads and stuff like this. And then these kind of things, I keep going back to biodegradability, but.
Well, no, you mentioned a couple of topics that are very good for an open discussion. And well, you mentioned something about biodegradability and these claims by brands and education. So that's a question for all of you. So you can take it, any one of you can take it away. So how could startups and companies working on new materials educate, convince, train brands and designers on the, you know, on the advantages of using innovative materials? What do you think is required? What is missing? Shariare.
I'll.
Or Linus.
Oh, sorry.
No, Linus.
Is it okay?
Any of
well, yeah. I have sort of 2 points I think that sort of jump up straight away, and the first one is, we better do this bloody fast. And what I mean by that is it's fair enough, Rowan, that you say education, because it truly is. But my worry is that when people hear education, that it's sort of an excuse to take our time. And to, you know, we have all these mad scientists popping up everywhere, creating spinnova, infinitive fiber, agroloop, whatever else is out there. And you know, again, back to my polyester viscose example, it took us 30, 40 years to really start using this stuff. And that's because that we waited for that natural education process to turn around. And you know, if you see the graphs of how polyester was used, it took a bit of time first. And now we're at a stage where we've kind of dug ourselves into a hole. And we're going to wait for education, I think, but I always wonder, is it going to be fast enough? So how do we speed up education? I don't have an answer, but we better be fast. And
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. So and then the sort of the other point is sort of entirely to the side of this, which is, how do we move away from just doing less bad? How do we always talk about sustainability as this concept of, for example, you know, I don't know, H&M says 100% sustainable cotton. And to me, as thinking what sustainability means is, we can do this for perpetuity with the 7 billion, 8 billion-ish people, probably 9 billion, not too long away, not too far off. And I just don't think that's the case. It's not sustainable cotton because you can't do it for perpetuity. And so I guess I would love to start introducing a conversation around more positive impact. And it's something that I think a few of the innovators have started doing more of, because we are often intrinsically related or working with raw material flows. And when that's connected with agriculture, especially, you can start talking about exciting things like regenerative agriculture, so that your net impact is a positive one. And so Yeah, I guess I caution against people using the word sustainability as it's more or less sustainable. You can't have something that's more sustainable. It's either sustainable or it's bloody not sustainable.
There is no specific scale, I think, to measure the sustainability as such. Yeah,
it's a scary word because of that, and it's not because anyone here has been. I think everyone here comes to it with quite good intentions, very good intentions. My worry is when folks like us use it, and it's already being used all around the place. So yeah, in terms of educating consumer, talking more about positive impact as well. And sorry, I want to pass the mic on as well. So
I think you're right by that. I'll let other guys. I think you're right about that. But then, you know, polyester took time. It was never meant to grow like that. But then this is how it's just naturally gone. But now we're at a point where we have to do something, and we have to do something quicker, like you said, and it's going to have to be accelerated in the growth. We can't wait 10, 20 years for this to happen. So this is where educating the consumer, and you're right, it's, you know, net positive stuff, you know, these kind of things. A lot of brands are starting to talk about it now. So I'm hoping, you know, next year will be a big year for this responsibility. I like to use a lot of the time because, like I said, sustainability doesn't really mean anything. It's a culture. It's a way of thinking, really, rather than a word. You know, this is sustainable. It's, you know, have you thought about everything? If you haven't, then it's not really, is it? You know, the worker, or, you know, what thread you use, or how that's done, or, you know, anywhere, you know, the lorry you use, is it electric lorry or is it diesel? You know, is that sustainable? It's every part of the practice. So I'll pass the mic now.
I know that there was spinnova had recently a success with a brand, a very group of brands. I mean, it's a bestseller. Can you tell us, how did you convince? I mean, what was the secret, or what was the way to have a positive discussion with bestseller so they adopted your idea? Tell us something about your experience.
Yeah, I think we haven't done anything very special or magical. It's, I think, our fiber itself talked. So I think the main driving force here is that the fiber itself is very much usable in the conventional textiles. It can be treated in a very conventional way, like dyeing and printing or finishing. This all can be done through the very conventional equipment. Okay. And the methods. So it's very much applicable. I must mention here that we are still working on our fiber. We are fine-tuning it to get there where we want to reach. But definitely we have got a huge interest from many different global brands. And the reason is that I think that it is applicable in typical textile, like for example denim. We have been able to produce nice denim, and we have been doing the very basic denim treatment, like the bio washing or other kind of treatment like ozone washing, laser treatment, so-called sustainable way of producing the denim. So all those were very much, I think applicable for our material. This is gone for denim, but I think for other applications also we have been doing very nicely. Yeah.
We have time for one last question for all of you, or maybe we can make a final statement. And we always want to know, or we want to have the end consumer. You know, end consumer is at the end of the day our customer. I mean, any company in this business work for the end consumer. So can you tell us something about how the end consumers perceive new materials? Are they aware? I mean, we spoke about the brands, okay, but the consumers, they seem to not realize what's going on, right? What do you think? Just make a short statement of what you think about. Rowan, yourself.
Yeah. End consumer is a hard thing, because as much as everyone, you know, a whole generation on climate change and rebellion and stuff like this, these are the guys that need to be buying what the new things are. But then, you know, education everywhere through to the end consumer, why it's special. And that's where I think needs the effort to be put in, because adoption takes a long time. And you got early adopters which are small, and it's the late late adopters, middle market, that these are the guys that we need to hit. It's the middle-aged people that I need to buy, because the volume part of it. I don't know if I've answered your question. I've just talked around. It is telling them why is it good. And I think people are coming around and hearing things and wondering why people are rebelling and wondering why people are talking about climate change and things going on. So it will come. We just need to keep telling and why is it good. All these things we discussed before. It's positive on this, it saves carbon, it does this, does that, and that's just in the fiber stage. And then when you do it in the fabric stage correctly, the garment stage, then you add all these up and it makes it into one big change, rather all these small bits add up.
Maybe rephrase the question for Shariari and Linus is, how do you expect, let's say, in 10 years, the market, from the end consumer perspective, how do you expect the market to be? What do you expect in 10 years, 15 years time, the interest of the customers, the end consumers to be?
Yeah, Linus.
Sure, cheers, thank you. So, yeah, look, super.
Glass ball.
Rubbing. So I would hope the direction that it's going is data. It's that the consumer no longer allows people or brands, entities to make claims without substantiating them. So when you use something very lofty like a sustainable cotton target, that's understood a little bit better. And it's not to say I have a suggestion on really how to do that. I as more of a numbers person, I would think it would make sense to do it in numbers, but I know that's not always the way that consumers like to talk. So that's the first sort of thing is start, and I know that's a big thing that Kingpins has been pushing as well, is focus on data rather than just sort of saying it for the sake of saying it. The sort of as a closing remark, we still, consumers are sort of often bombarded with this, and sorry, sounding a bit like a broken record, but this is why you should feel less guilty when you purchase this. And I think that's fine. I think that's okay. Like it's kind of like saying, here's a chocolate pudding. You can actually now eat 2 of those. They're still pretty bad, but they're less bad. Whereas I would maybe in 10 years, the story is instead, okay, by purchasing this T-shirt, you have pulled X kilos from landfill, or you've supported this family, or you've again, also with data, please.
Absolutely agree.
But more, and not greenwashing, uplifting, but more uplifting because it is actually uplifting. So less guilt tripping, more creating positive impact with your purchase.
Understanding the goods and the potential benefit of the purchasing or buying. So, Shariari, a final statement from you to close this panel.
Yes, I think I'm very much aligned with Rowan and also Linus that I think it's all about educating the consumer, and that is, I think, a continuous process. This is, I think, a consumer will be learning, and this is our responsibility, who we are in the industry, to boldly communicate what we want to communicate about. I think some percentage of some good fiber cannot make a whole product sustainable. I think you have to see from a holistic point of view, and that is why, for example, when we are talking about spinnova fiber, we use the land that is, let's say, 10%, below 10% compared to the land that use for cotton. So land use is considerably less, and water use is basically 99.5% less. So all these things, well, there are very good things in very many innovative fibers. And I think it should be boldly communicated, easily communicated, that consumer understand it easily. And what I really impose that it must be, the innovative fiber must be applicable in very conventional products, in a very basic jeans, in a very basic T-shirt, so that and through a very, very conventional process. Like for example, I would like to show you this denim piece that has been made through the spinnova fiber. It has been made in a very, very typical way that denim fabric is produced and treated. So I must put that that we must make it very easy for the consumer to understand. We produce it in very traditional, conventional way, but still in a very sustainable way, or as according to Rowan, very responsible way. Yeah.
Right, that's a very quote. And you mentioned something that is data. I fully agree with you that data are key for anything we do.
Yes.
So let me finish this panel. Thanking you for being with us today, for participating at Kingpins 24. I look forward to meeting you live sometime in the future and keep discussing about this extremely important topic, because the future of our industry and the future of the planet, to a certain extent, is in the hands of you guys. Okay. So thanks very much. Keep well, stay safe, and looking forward to meeting you, seeing you, get in touch with you again.
Thank you very much, Miguel.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.